What was thought to be a harmless spring break trip turned into a disturbing vanishing that left authorities puzzled for over a decade. Gone without a trace and with no leads, this case became one of the most mysterious disappearances in the Palmetto State. So, what exactly happened on the night of April 25, 2009? How did this case evolve so quickly into a missing persons case? And who was responsible for this disappearance? Hello everyone, my name is Vander and welcome to Vander Explains. Today, we are here to take a deep dive into the mysterious disappearance of Brittanee Drexel. We are here to reveal the truths about what happened that night and uncover how the case was finally solved. So let's get started. Our case takes us to the state of South Carolina, located on the southeastern coast of the United States. For those of you unfamiliar, it is nicknamed the Palmetto State for its iconic population of the sable palm trees. A popular state for those looking to escape, have a bit of fun, and enjoy their vacation. South Carolina is known for their white sand beaches, their beautiful parks and golf courses, their abundance of festivals, and of course, their famed southern hospitality. Traveling further east from the heart of South Carolina, we end up in a city called Myrtle Beach, a famous vacation resort and the hub of what is called the Grand Strand, a stretch of over 60 miles or nearly 100 kilometers of beaches along the coast. With a magnificent beachfront boardwalk and a promenade, Myrtle Beach is nothing short of breathtaking. Families and friends looking to spend time in the city will find a plethora of fun to discover. From their endless amusement parks and museums to the Sky Wheel, Myrtle Beach has it all. Stepping away from all the fun and festivities, unfortunately, it is also the location where teenager Brittanee Drexel was last seen alive. Brittanee Drexel was born on October 7, 1991 in Rochester, New York. Her mother Dawn Plecken conceived Brittanee when she was in a relationship with John Chahiolu. They were teens at the time and decided not to pursue their relationship further. Shortly after Brittanee was born, Dawn got married to a man named Chad Drexel, who agreed to adopt Brittanee and carry the Drexel family name. After Chad's military service has ended, the family then lived their lives in a small town called Chile in southwest Rochester. Brittanee Drexel was born with a condition called persistent fetal vasculature, or PFV, in her right eye. She went through multiple surgeries, but sadly, she was rendered blind and unable to see out of that eye. To mask her right eye's tendency to wander around, Brittanee decided to wear contact lenses. She attended Gates Chile High School and aspired to become a model and study cosmetology. It all sounds well and promising, but Brittanee had her own demons to conquer. With the pressures of fitting in high school as well as struggling with her own emotions, Brittanee often felt sad and depressed. This was further exacerbated when her mother Dawn and stepfather Chad decided to go through a divorce in 2008 when Brittanee was just 16 years old. Brittanee remained in the custody of her mother Dawn, but she was never the same since. She began to stay up late, miss school, and have arguments with her on and off boyfriend John Greco. Brittanee was even found to have overdosed herself on pain medications on 2 separate occasions. After recovering from her second OD, she was treated by a mental health counselor. It is safe to say that Brittanee was found to be constantly struggling with her way of life. Nevertheless, she pushed through and managed to finish off her exams before heading towards the anticipated spring break of 2009. It is now April, and with all her pent-up emotions and thrill of finishing her tests, Brittanee decided to take a chance and ask her mother for permission to go to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. When Brittanee asked the question to her mother Dawn, she was met with a stern response. Dawn was adamant and would not allow Brittanee to go to Myrtle Beach under any circumstances. For context, her hometown in Chile, Rochester, was about 800 miles away from Myrtle Beach. It would roughly take 13 hours by car or about 2 hours by plane. Brittanee and Dawn then had a short argument. They were going back and forth saying, quote, "No, you are not going." "Why, Mom? Nothing is going to happen to me." "There is no parental supervision." "I don't know the kids you're going with. Something is going to happen," unquote. The argument was repeatedly talked over for days until April 22nd. This was when Brittanee asked for Dawn's permission to go for a sleepover at her friend's house for a couple of days. Brittanee just said that she wanted to calm down from all the arguing, and her mother agreed. But that same day, Brittanee and 3 of her friends decided to travel to Myrtle Beach. Her boyfriend John Greco was supposed to join, but he had to stay back due to work. Brittanee and her friends left Rochester at about 8 p.m. and arrived at Myrtle Beach the following day. Upon arriving, Brittanee and her friends checked into the Bar Harbor Hotel. For the next couple of days, Brittanee was enjoying her vacation with her friends, moving from venue to venue. During this time, she kept in touch with her boyfriend John and frequently texted him to let him know what she was up to. On April 25th, she decided to call her mother and told her that she was at the beach. Dawn didn't really think much of it because she thought that her daughter was at Charlotte Beach in New York. That same night at around 8 p.m., Brittanee left her friends at the Bar Harbor Hotel to visit another friend at the Blue Water Resort. She was meeting up with longtime friend, 20-year-old Peter Brozowitz, who also lived in Rochester, New York, and was visiting Myrtle Beach. One important note was that the distance between the 2 locations was around 1.5 miles, a distance that would approximately take 28 minutes to complete on foot. Brittanee arrived at the Blue Water Resort and enjoyed a conversation with Peter. Not long after, she was contacted by one of her friends, Jennifer, back at the Bar Harbor Hotel. She asked Brittanee to return a pair of shorts she had borrowed. It was actually the one Brittanee was wearing that night. So reluctantly, Brittanee agreed and told her friend Jennifer that she will walk all the way back to return her shorts. She left the Blue Water Resort at about 8:48 p.m. and began her walk back. During her walk, she still managed to text her boyfriend John a couple of times before eerily, her last text sent at 8:58 p.m., which reads, quote, "No, F that, I'm staying in, packing and going to sleep, probably," unquote. John then texted back asking why she was upset, but there was no answer. It wasn't until 9:15 p.m. that John grew worried. He repeatedly tried to text and call Brittanee and asked her friends there to do the same. And again, all they got was nothing but silence. 10 p.m. then struck, and John finally decided to reach out to Brittanee's mother, Dawn. He told her the truth about Brittanee's whereabouts and said that she was in fact in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. In shock, Dawn then frantically called some of Brittanee's friends, but none of them knew where her daughter was. Terror and panic steadily crept, and in the back of everyone's mind, they had feared the worst. At 11:40 p.m., in despair, John sent a text to Brittanee's phone saying, quote, "Don't play games if this is what this is. Please, I'm crying at your house right now," unquote. It wasn't clear at the time, but that chilling text sent at 8:48 p.m. was the last that anyone would hear from Brittanee ever again. Dawn then began to call and inform her ex-husband Chad of Brittanee's disappearance, and they immediately called local Myrtle Beach police. Upon initial investigation, the police were able to question Brittanee's friends and were slowly piecing together a timeline of when Brittanee was last seen. As information were being piled up and corroborated, there seems to be a lack of leads that could explain what happened to Brittanee. The case quickly grew from a search into a full-blown missing persons investigation. After a few days into the search, police were able to recover the footage of Brittanee entering and leaving the Blue Water Resort. They also managed to access street cameras that showed Brittanee walking along South Ocean Boulevard, the infamous 1.5-mile-long road between the Bar Harbor Hotel and the Blue Water Resort. After about a week of investigation, police also managed to track Brittaney's cell phone pings across the city and gained access to her message history. The messages showed how Brittanee was having conversations with her friends and her boyfriend John before suddenly vanishing into thin air. You can clearly see the message devolving into fear and panic as Brittanee became unresponsive. Her cell phone then pinged in areas like Surfside, Morell's Inlet, Pawleys Island, and Georgetown before suddenly stopping at McClellanville. It was assumed that her phone just died moments after the last ping was recorded. McClellanville is approximately 60 miles away from the Blue Water Resort. It was clear that whoever took Brittanee deliberately went further south from Myrtle Beach. Now, expanding their search area to the Georgetown area, police had a lot of ground and possible scenarios to cover. Police then reached out to the public and released the CCTV footage of when Brittanee was last seen, but to no avail. The case was then broadcasted to an even wider audience the following month. On May 11th, Dawn appeared on Dr.Phil, where she shared her story to the entire country. She thought that this was another way of raising awareness about the case. In the show, she also expressed her concerns and suspicions over Peter Brozowitz, who also made a guest appearance via video call. She said that he was the last known person to have seen and talked to Brittanee alive. Dawn found it strange that the 20-year-old did not help with the search or seem concerned at all. Dr. Phil then asked Peter about this, to which he responded with, quote, "Of course, I'm concerned about Brittanee. That girl is a nice girl. But when I was in the room with 4 other kids, they're all with me the whole night. And then all of a sudden, my name is mentioned as a person of interest, when there is absolutely no evidence. My family is going through hell right now. People look at me differently walking down the street. You can just imagine how I feel." Unquote. The conversation went on and neither side seemed like they were happy with the situation. The show finally ended with Dr. Phil expressing his concerns about Brittanee and hopes that the family and friends get their answer as soon as possible. Dawn's appearance on the show successfully attracted a lot of attention to this case. More and more people wanted to join in the search, and this also prompted police to pick up their pace. The public did not want investigators to become complacent and slack off. But even through the media and public pressure, there was just no evidence and leads to go off on. The case eventually grew colder and colder, and repeated attempts of searches have led nowhere. As weeks turned into months and months into years, the case still encountered no breakthroughs. Dawn even decided to permanently move to Myrtle Beach in the hopes of being there when the case is solved. In June of 2010, during a graduation ceremony at Gates Chili High School, the year in which Brittanee should have graduated, she was awarded with her honorary diploma. But instead of accepting the award herself, her family members had to do it on her behalf. It was getting more and more stressful for Dawn as time passed. On what was the 3rd anniversary of Brittanee's disappearance, friends and family decided to plant a tree in Myrtle Beach in her honor. And on October 7th of 2012, a vigil was held where the tree was planted to celebrate Brittanee's 21st birthday. In the subsequent years, there has been no development in the case, and the momentum for Brittanee's search seems to be dying off. However, in 2016, the FBI announced that they might have a break in Brittanee's case. They believed that she might have been a victim of kidnapping and rape. This information was provided to FBI agent Garrick Munoz from an informant by the name of Taquan Brown. Taquan was currently serving his 25-year sentence of manslaughter when he offered to give information regarding the Drexel case. He was most likely trying to strike a plea deal to reduce his sentence. Taquan allegedly saw a man named Deshaun Taylor sexually abusing Brittanee in a McClellanville stash house along with his father, Timothy Taylor. Taquan said that he was there to pay off a debt he had with Deshaun. The Before he left, he said that he heard 2 gunshots fired and what appeared to be a wrapped body removed from the scene. This story was also corroborated by another unnamed inmate serving time in Georgetown. Meanwhile, Deshawn had already served jail time for a previous robbery at a local McDonald's in 2011. He was the getaway driver in that incident and was serving 18 months in prison for that crime. When news broke out about Deshawn's potential involvement in the Drexel case, he was taken into custody again for his role in the 2011 robbery. Law enforcement used this opportunity to re-sentence Deshawn, claiming that the time he served for his previous crime was insufficient. By that time, it felt like the investigators were coercing Deshawn to admit to the Brittanee Drexel murder because of the 2 eyewitness accounts placing him at the scene that night. Deshawn ended up serving roughly another year in jail while waiting for the outcome of the case. He received death threats and accusations from social media and was labeled a murderer. Deshawn was already at the brink of confessing to a crime he did not commit due to pressures from the police. It wasn't until further along the investigation when the informant Taquan began to change his narrative and showed signs of deception. In the end, it was incredibly unfair for Deshawn and his family to go through this ordeal, but also to the Brittanee Drexel's family for getting a sense of false justice. This false lead led detectives to the wrong path and tried to pin it on an innocent man. This ordeal lasted for about 3 years before Deshawn was completely cleared. It was now 2019 and it felt like the case is getting further and further away from being solved. But coming to the end of the year, advances in cell phone technology paired with Brittanee's cell phone ping records allowed investigators to begin reconstructing her precise footsteps on the night of April 25, 2009. Investigators pursued this development and was able to determine that she was walking on the strip of South Ocean Boulevard before getting into a car. On the car ride, she headed all the way south to an area near Georgetown before her cell phone pinged for the last time in McClellanville. Officers were then able to pinpoint the area in which her phone had last pinged and narrowed down the search area to the surrounding locations. Over the next couple of years, police were trying to compile new sets of leads and evidence to pursue. This investigation then led to a breakthrough in April of 2022 when police officers approached Angel Vause. Angel was a girlfriend of Raymond Moody, a child sex offender that lived around the Georgetown area during Brittanee's disappearance. He was once declared a suspect back in 2012, but there was just not enough evidence to prove his involvement. But now, police are confident that they have collected enough evidence linking Moody to Brittanee Drexel's disappearance. Investigators then informed Angel regarding what they had found, and she agreed to wear a wire to try and get information out of Moody. To everyone's surprise, he admitted having raped and killed Brittanee that fateful night and even told Angel where he disposed the body. He said that he forced himself onto her, raped her, and then strangled her to death before burying her body in the woods nearby. Investigators then had to verify his claims, and on May 11th, they revealed that they had found remains in a wooded area in the Georgetown County. On May 16th, investigators were able to confirm that the body found was indeed Brittanee Drexel's remains. On that same day, Moody was charged with murder, kidnapping, and criminal sexual conduct for Brittanee's death and disappearance. And on October 19th, Raymond Moody pleaded guilty in court and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. After 13 long years of waiting, the truth finally came out, and justice had been served. The guilty plea and sentencing of Raymond Moody was bittersweet for the Drexel family. On one hand, they were glad that the case had finally been solved and closure could be attained. But to those who were still hoping that Brittanee was still out there somewhere, their hearts were shattered. After the sentencing, Chad Drexel said, quote, "I'll never be able to walk Brittanee down the aisle, and neither will her bloodfather or Dawn. She'll never be able to see my granddaughter, her niece who is amazing, and all that's snatched away from us." Unquote. The disappearance of Brittanee Drexel on spring break of 2009 was finally solved and put to a close. That is the tragic story of Brittanee Drexel, the case that baffled authorities for over a decade and nearly led to the conviction of an innocent man. Through all the hardship that the family has gone through, I am just glad that it was finally over and that Brittanee could get her proper rest in peace. Thank you everyone for watching and joining me on this storytelling journey. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like and possibly consider subscribing to the channel. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the video and recommend me some other cases to review and explain. For now, this is Vander, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.